You're saying intrusive thoughts wrong. I'm a psychology student and I constantly see people saying my intrusive thoughts when they really mean something different. They don't mean intrusive thoughts. And as a psychology student, I think it's really quite damaging and dangerous for us to keep referring to thoughts that aren't intrusive thoughts as intrusive thoughts, because it really minimizes the danger of intrusive thoughts, and because intrusive thoughts can lead to people unaliving themselves. Like, that's a really serious thing. So I'm going to explain to you the difference between intrusive thoughts and impulsive thoughts, because what I see most of the time is people labeling impulsive thoughts as intrusive thoughts, but those are two completely different things. So an intrusive thought, a true intrusive thought, is when something, for instance, something terrible happened to you or somebody you know, and you can't stop thinking about it. And no matter how hard you try, it keeps coming in your head. And what I mean with keeps is like literally all of the time, like every 5 minutes, every hour, all of the time, all day long, every day. You keep having these intrusive thoughts and you can't stop it, and you're suffering because of them, and it's deteriorating your mental health, and you don't want to think them, but you can't stop thinking the same thing over and over again. And a lot of the times this can be a trauma response to something terrible you experienced or you saw somebody experience, or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be that exactly, but that is an intrusive thought. Now, an impulsive thought is something completely different. An impulsive thought is if I'm walking down the stairs and suddenly I have the image in my mind of me falling down the stairs. That's not an intrusive thought necessarily. In this case, if that's just something that when I walk down the stairs, that is something that happens, or just like one time, or then if I'm chopping vegetables and suddenly I think of, what if I threw this knife across the room? Like, don't do that, obviously. But that's not an intrusive thought, and that's what I see. Examples like that is what I see a lot on the internet, and people saying that's their intrusive thoughts. But that's not an intrusive thought, that's an impulsive thought. That's your brain playing with all of the possibilities of what could happen right now, and what would be really bad to do right now, and what would happen, and why you shouldn't do that. So that's just your brain protecting you from scenarios that you don't want to be in. So that's really, really good. And impulsive thoughts are completely natural and completely normal, and it's just your brain protecting you. It's trying to map out all the scenarios. Okay, we want to prevent this from happening, so in order to prevent something from happening, you have to know what could happen, right? So that's impulsive thoughts. And intrusive thoughts can be really, really harmful and dangerous and weigh really, really heavily on someone, and they can lead to, it can also just be really heavy and terrible, but it can also like lead to somebody unaliving themselves because they've experienced something terrible and they can't stop thinking about it. That's an intrusive thought, when this thought keeps coming back to them about this terrible thing that they don't want to think about, and that is just torturing them, and they just want to not think about it, but they can't. It just keeps coming back to them. That's an intrusive thought. And that is not what people refer to as intrusive thoughts on the internet. At least not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people label impulsive thoughts as intrusive thoughts. And we really need to stop. So there's a little psychology lesson for the day. And I think if we keep labeling impulsive thoughts as intrusive thoughts on the internet, then everybody keeps, it spreads like wildfire, whatever you put on the internet. And so some person sees that, and no matter what video you post on TikTok, at least 200 people will see that, and then it will imprint in their brains, and then they will do it, and it has this ripple effect. And what it does is we minimize intrusive thoughts by labeling impulsive thoughts as intrusive thoughts that are not the same thing at all. And thereby we minimize intrusive thoughts, and therefore we don't give intrusive thoughts the attention that they deserve, in the sense of how dangerous they can be and how seriously people should take that. And also people then don't actually know what an intrusive thought is. And intrusive thoughts can be really dangerous, but if we label impulsive thoughts, which are completely natural and normal and hopefully harmless, if we label those as intrusive thoughts, then suddenly this whole group of people who has intrusive thoughts, and that is something terrible that they deal with, kind of disappears off of the face of the earth. And then this word, intrusive thought, is completely minimized, and that's a really dangerous thing. So I think that is not something we should continue to do. So there you go.